Okay, we have arrived at the Webb Cemetery. This is where Thomas Jackson Sneed is buried, and also Robert Sneed. Thomas Jackson Sneed was the father of Felix Jerome Sneed, which was my daddy's father. So this would be my, let me think it out now.
Great.
Thomas Jackson Sneed would be my great-great-grandfather, and Robert Sneed would be my great-great-great-grandfather. So let's see if we can find their grave. I've been here one time before. There are a lot of Sneeds that are buried here. So on my paternal side, many of them lived in this area of Ray County, Tennessee. Let me see if I can find it now. David, help me look.
I'm looking, baby. The writing's on the other side. S.H. Sneed.
No, here, okay, here is one. Here we go, David. This is Robert Sneed.
Yeah, barely read that.
Born January the 12th. Well, you're on the shadow. Your head is 1838 and died in 1908. He served in the Confederate Cavalry of Tennessee. And I understand, I'm not real sure, but I think he may have been a blacksmith. And let me see if I can find.
I can't take a picture out of the sun. Oh, like this again.
I think Thomas Jackson Sneed is in the same area. This is, let's see. I think this is a sister to one of them right here. Mally Sneed. Look for a T.J. Sneed, David.
Here it is, Robert.
Did you find it? Is it on this side or that side?
It's on this side.
And it's T.J.?
T.J.
And so that is our...
T.J. Sneed.
Yeah.
1858.
No, that's not it. That's not the one.
That's T.J. Sneed. That's what it says.
Boy,
It says T.J. Sneed.
18 what?
1858.
Okay, that's correct.
Well,
That-
I can't read the
That's it.
ending date.
That's it. 1858.
Maybe I'm gonna take a picture of it.
Maybe
I can blow it up.
maybe you can get close.
Maybe I can
If
blow
not, we'll have to look on Find a Grave. They have a.
I might be able to enlarge it here.
That's it. Because there's two names there. You'll see. There's two names. T.J. Sneed, and I think there's a John Sneed. They buried them both there. I think that's his brother.
See, that's the head that's pushed in here.
But if you look, there's many Sneeds in this area right here.
Here was one.
Like here. Daughter of R and M Sneed, 1913. You'll see here Sneeds. There's just and there's many because Felix Snead had many brothers and sisters, because
S.H.
Thomas Jackson Snead had many, many children. Now, I'm going to have to look this up, but this might be the Robert Snead, because I think his wife was Edie, that was actually in the Civil War and in the Confederate Cavalry of Tennessee. I think it's Combs, C-O-L-M-S division. I'll have to verify that. I'm going to have to look again. That other Robert Snead may not be the one I'm thinking of. So this one right here could be our great-great-great-grandfather. Okay, now we're going to try to find where Felix is buried.
Yeah.
And also the Fraleys.
Right, right.
So we'll head there next. It's only about maybe 5-10 miles away from here. So we'll talk to you then when we get there. We finally found our way into the Brown Cemetery, which was very difficult to get to, by the way.
Yeah,
Back in the day when we were kids, you could come directly from great-grandfather Fraley's house and come up through the field there and come in this gate here and access it. Or the other way was down this dirt road, which we'll show you on the way out. But this is the grave of our grandfather and my daddy's dad, Felix G. Snead. Can you read that, David?
I can't. Tennessee first
Is it private in First Coast Artillery.
April to May something 45. May 1890 to
1945. And this is their grave. And there's a picture of us. Back in the day, this is something that may sound a little odd to some people, but we would come up here on Decoration Day.
Memorial,
Which is, I guess, Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And they would be, we would have a picnic, and everybody
It would be, it started at the church.
started at the church, but then you would come up here, and children were playing all around this area. All of our cousins were here, and you would still be eating. And what you would do is clean up the graves, and at the same time you'd put flowers on the grave.
Oh, it was a
big day.
Yeah, it was a celebration.
And that's what we did back then. So this is, David remembers Mamie.
Yeah, I remember Mamie.
But I was only 2 years old when she passed away.
7.
Yeah, you would have been about 7 years old, so he can remember her. And this, of course, this is Felix that was in World War I, and he fought in the Argonne Forest. And my understanding is that he was a spotter for the field artillery, and that he would have to go in advance of the line to try to spot to make sure that the artillery was hitting the positions of the Germans that it was supposed to hit. And of course, that was at the Argonne Forest. I'll tell you another story that I was told about Felix, is that he knew Sergeant York, both being from Tennessee. Yeah, I heard that. And that, I think Aunt Imogene actually told me a piece of this. Yeah. And that they, at one point after World War I, they actually went up and visited Sergeant York up in his home place up in a little bit north of here where we're located. But that's one of these tales that you hear, and I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but it makes for an interesting story.
And all the Fraleys, Robert.
But the Fraleys are here also.
Is that our uncle over there?
Yeah, Tate was, it's interesting. Tate was our grandfather, and he lived in a house just down at the bottom of that, and he had a large amount of land, I understand.
They did.
And they actually called him Squire Tate. I do not know why they called him Squire Tate. But he was...
had a couple of mean old mules.
Yeah.
And Robert and I wanted to ride them. We never got to ride them.
He was a farmer. And now Martha, you'll see the middle name is W. It's Martha Walker. and that was our great-grandmother. She was a frail little woman. She was blind. She became blind as she aged, as did our aunt Imogene. She became blind probably in her 40s. But she was a very small woman, sweet as could be, cooked on a wood stove, and we'd go in there and she would fix us some breakfast.
Going in there, it would be so stinking hot, and she would have the iron sitting on the stove.
Yeah.
And she would actually, we'd all be in the living room, and she'd sit there ironing, and they would cool off, and she'd put it on the stove. Yeah. Oh.
But the Fraleys are a very prominent name in this area also of Ray County. It's very interesting. As I look around, I see a lot of names that I recognize as I did a little bit of a ancestry search.
Walter Fraley.
But tell you a little bit about Martha. You'll notice her middle name is Walker. Her brother, that's her maiden name, is Walker. And her brother lived with them in the house right down here, and he was older than her. And something else about them is that their father was in the Civil War, but I believe he was on the Union side, because in the Tennessee, especially in Middle Tennessee, there were some Union sympathizers. So we had family that fought on both sides of the Civil War. But he remembers the war. He was a young boy. And he loved Prince Albert in a can. I remember that.
Oh, my goodness.
But he had his own room, and they took care of him until he died. Okay, David, what else? Some of these names, just a lot of Fraleys in this area here.
Yeah.
We're going to turn off. I'm just going to look around a little bit. Can you remember anything else that you'd like to say?
I cannot, Robert. Martha's brother, you try to get him talking about the Civil War,
yeah.
and you couldn't quite get him talking. When Robert and I knew him, he was almost chair-bound.
Yeah, and he was dementia, I think, had set in.
Yeah.
But you'd have moments that he was coherent, and you could talk to him a little bit. But he was a small boy whenever the Union came through this area toward Chattanooga.
But I wish you could see that field, and looking down through there, you can almost see Robert and I walking up the road and coming past those stinking mules that we wanted to ride. And,
yeah, I think one of them, his name was Jack.
And Granddaddy would say, you catch them, you ride them. We couldn't catch them.
We couldn't catch them. They were humongous, big. But we had a lot of fun here. And our like I said, our cousins on Daddy's side would be up here. We would just play and play and play. So this is kind of where Daddy's, I guess, foundation was in this area. As I did research.
He didn't move to Oakdale, I don't think, till he was in high school.
No, because see, let me tell you a little bit about Felix. This is primarily for our children and our grandchildren. But like I said, he was in World War I, but he worked for the railroad, as did our Granddaddy Burris before he was called into the ministry. He worked for the railroad. So the railroad plays prominent place in our family, but he was a signal maintainer, and he moved around quite a bit. He's lived in Cordell, I think Slidell, I think. Up in the, I got an old picture of him. We might be able to post that when he was on a signal gang back in the early 1900s before he went off to war. But he went to France. He actually had a sister that lived in Paris, and he stayed with her some. He lived quite a life for the amount of years that he lived. He died at the age of 55.
Too young.
Too young. Okay, I'm going to turn it off for right now and just look around a little bit. If I find something else interesting, I'll start it back up. Very tranquil, peaceful setting. Not a lot of additional graves have been established here since we were children. All that area there is what I remember, and this was just very sparse in here.
Seeing all those pine trees are cut that Granddaddy had.
Yeah.
And Granddaddy planted those, by the way, great-granddaddy.
Yeah, great-granddaddy. Yeah. And the way we figure it is, that house right there was probably where his barn was across the road. And then their home was on the other side of
the road.
A very quaint home.
Oh my.
Yeah, just you know, certainly no heat, no air conditioning, nothing but wood heat. But we would come up here at least every year as long as we could, didn't we?
Okay, we just moved too far away to celebrate Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Here.
Yep. Probably we'll be able to post pictures of great-granddaddy Fraley and his wife, and then also...
I'm going to walk around until it gets crazy.
Okay, go ahead. And we'll also be able to post pictures of Felix and Mamie, and maybe some pictures of him in his World War I uniform. Seems like I remember when I was a little boy, I would be at my great-grandfather Fraley's house, and he had a kind of a garage adjacent to his home. And I think I remember going in there, and I thought I remember seeing an old World War I doughboy uniform hanging on the wall in the barn, or I'm sorry, in the garage. And that may have been his. Beautiful cedar trees.
Yep. I want to film me driving out here, Robert.
Were you recording all
I thought it was.
that?
Paved road.
We are now headed up to the cemetery where Mom and Dad are buried. Something interesting about the cemetery, for men that served in World War II, when they came back from the war, the cemetery gave them free burial plots. And so Mom and Dad got, I don't know, I think 6 different plots, which is very, very interesting. So you'll see that this is up on a
Uncle R.C. did, and
yeah, Uncle R.C.
and
Uncle Bill, I think.
Uncle Conrad did, and Uncle Fred did too, because I think they were all in the. Conrad was in the Air Force, and the rest of them were in the Navy.
Yes.
But they all served.
They all served.
Every one of Mom's sister's husbands served.
Look.
Here, you want it?
Well, I'm trying to get it where I don't have all that. I think you're looking out here instead of looking through that.
You can't run it.
And I think I go this way, don't I? It's the lower right.
You go around. You go around. It's up here.
This second one here. It's this one.
Oh, this one goes around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one way around here, so you have to go this way. Here. Maybe I have a better view. And they're up here on the left, I think. Right here.
There it is, right there.
Right here. Let me put her in park, and we'll walk up there. It looks like to me, David, some trees have been cut.
It's been cut down.
Yeah, because this used to be very, very wooded. But Dad put these steps in.
Now, Uncle Bill was in the Korean War.
Yep.
Uncle Bill was in the Korean War, so they got their plot.
But Daddy put these in
Yes.
before I think anybody was buried up in this area.
And him and Brian reinforced it.
Yep. Thomas E. Sneed, U.S. Navy, World War II. Born July 28, 1924. Died December the 21st, 1994. Dad was 70 years old. Mom was 83 when she died, wasn't she, David?
Yes.
And to show you kind of what, how Mom and Dad loved her sons. It just amazes me. Sneed, parents of David Eugene and Robert Thomas. Boy, I love them. You can see this is the other lots that they had right here. Of course, Mom and Dad in the middle. And then there might actually be two more lots here.
There could be, because you see Bill is right here.
Yeah. Then Uncle Bill and Aunt Naomi are here.
And there's Uncle Bill's
Yeah, Uncle Bill. Can you knock that off for me, Dave? They had one son, George, our cousin.
He lives in Clarksville.
Yeah, Cooksville. Cooksville. But Uncle Bill and Aunt Naomi, precious, godly,
Ooh.
Christian people, just wonderful. Wonderful.
Did you get his Korean?
Yeah, William H. Butler, U.S. Army, Korea. Of course, he was born in 1928 and died in 1998.
Much too young.
Yes. I mean, you'd have to know them, but Aunt Naomi would do anything for you. She was just like a mother to us. And then Uncle Bill was just a very mellow, calm man. Just wonderful. And in fact, these bushes, I think Dad and Mom planted these, I believe. Do you want to?
Let's walk around to Jewel and RC. I'm going to walk around to Uncle RC and Aunt Jewel's. It's on around the corner. Like I say, he served in the Navy with my dad. My dad was he was a turret gunner on a PBY, you know, that carried torpedoes and you know, unbelievable. Man, we're men. Dad was training to be a pilot, but something happened. Another story. But here's the Duncan. They had a little baby that died. Their children are my cousin Sharon, cousin Richard. They had a little baby died, Beth. She died July 30th, 1946. She was born, died October the 19th, 1946. Tragic. So, RC and Lena Jewel. Pardon the court. Uncle R.C. Duncan, U.S. Navy, World War II. That was his name, by the way, R.C. It don't stand for anything. His name's just R.C. Duncan. Just walking around the cemetery to my grandmother and granddaddy's births. Here you go, Robert. You take it. You do a lot better job than me.
Still recording. But this is beautiful. It's getting a little bit cloudy now. It's cooler. But at this cemetery, I think your oldest graves are up on top, because this is actually at the top of the hill. And we'll drive around. You'll see that it can be treacherous. You have to drive it slowly. But I really love these trees. They're gorgeous. But Grandfather Burris, we always called him Granddaddy, and of course Grandmother. Grandmother's name was Parthenia Cressy.
Cressy. Or was it Cressy Parthenia?
It may have been Cressy Parthenia, forgive me. We'll look. I know Mom told me that if I had been a child, I'd been named Parthenia. And I'll tell you right now, that would have done it for me. But
you actually look a little bit like a Parthenia.
I guess I do.
I know you drive like a Parthenia.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and here is Cressy.
There you go.
My daughter has a name, her middle name's Cressy, and David has a granddaughter Cressy. We'll walk down there, but maybe I can get a close up. Cressy, 1899, died in 1988. And then David Burris, born in 1887, died in 1959. I remember we lived in Princeton, Indiana, when Mom got the message that Granddaddy had a wreck.
Yeah, I was just getting out of the hospital, by the way.
Oh, you were then? Okay.
For that, I think it was
Appendix. Yeah, the appendix, yeah. But I think I remember Daddy helping me pour these steps for them. And again, remember, my grandmother loved flowers. And you can see the remnants of these little flowers that were planted on her behalf. Burris, B-U-R-R-I-S. I believe in my research that their names originally was Burroughs, but then when they came to America, I believe that it changed to Burris. Okay, I'm gonna drive around the cemetery top here. Have their own place to whatever. I wonder if that's a caretaker. Try to see the terrain up there. Those steam pipes are Kingston. Yep.